Hi guys, and welcome back to one of my videos. This time is one of the reasons why I'm named Love GT40 Model Works Power here, and I wanted to present you this model I built up now, I think a couple of years ago, and it is related to a Ford GT40 MK1 chassis number 1083. The 1083 was the last GT40 MK1 produced in 1969 and was sold at the end in Brazil. That is the reason why she has a Brazilian flag on the nose, and in my opinion is one of the nicest MK1 around the world, owned by many years by the Fittipaldi family that use it like a personal car, and probably because of the condition in Brazil they have very nice weather down there, so this was probably the reason why they didn't use, you see at once when you see the model you know that there is no wiper in the middle of the windshield, because they didn't had on this car on 1083 the wiper, so she was a kind of particular late model of the GT40 MK1. Remember that the MK1 is the lower hatch version of the GT40. GT40 have mainly 4 versions that are the MK1, that is this one, even in this latest model. They have the MK2 that had a much higher rear hatch to host the 7.4 liters 427 engine, and the MK3 that was the street version, I think produced in reality about in 6 or 7 cars, not more, so extremely, probably is the most valuable GT40 in the reality. And the MK4 that was completely different in the body shape, because she became kind of prototype, much longer and a completely different design. You can barely recognize the lines of the GT40 just looking about some part of the cockpit, but it mostly can be considered completely a different car. It was the starting of the J cars. It was the evolution into what became in the 70s the prototype categories, and with completely different shapes, arriving nearly to the look of the modern car. And the MK1 was also possible to use like an ordinary street and everyday car, like Fittipaldi family did back in time. I don't think that today they still own the car. It seems to me that some friends told me that the car had been sold and refurbished, so they have a very, very particular history, but of course it's still around, and it's a very, very special model. The biggest feature that you can see, that you can note in this model, if you place this in this position, maybe with the contrast of the ultra airbrush under, you can see the biggest difference of this car. It is mostly around the body shape that she has, because this car was using this kind of wheels that are much wider than the one that you can find inside the Fujimi box. They are coming from the latest model prototype cars like the Fisher model pattern 917 and so on, the Ferrari 512, and so all the rear body shape became quite different. MK1 had an evolution from the 66 model that was the narrow car to the 68 that became large, nearly like this, to the 69 model that is this one, the real Gulf car that is completely different and much more wider than the box that ordinary Fujimi provide you. This was in the beginning, this was the box related to 1075 chassis, so it was the Gulf GT40 in Gulf colors, 1969 I think they called it. But the picture that they show in the covering of in the art box of the kit, in my opinion, don't respect so much the real shape of the GT40, and you can see absolutely, because the wheels are much bigger. I mean, to check what I'm telling now, it's not that you just take a picture of the real 1075 car and you compare with the model that comes out straight from the box, from the Fujimi box, as well as the front end. In my opinion, in the Fujimi kit is too narrow, so they just use a part of the plastics they did for the 66 and the 67 car, and they simply enlarged the rear hatch, so there is something missing in the line, in the shape of the car. Instead, this muscular body, very seems a kind of anabolic GT40. It was the specific version of the latest model of 1969 GT40s, you know. And the model, as said, is coming from the Fujimi box. It is the only plastic kits you can find around. The other are resin and quite rare, pricey, whatever. You know about resin, how it is. And it is a little tricky when you build up the model, because in my opinion they divided the assembly still in that ugly method that you have nearly to force the under part of the model to enter. So I made some cuttings in the floor of the car to fit much better and to have no problem to have a final convincing overall setup, you know. If you see my GT40, the line, I think it is the same model that I have in the presentation of the YouTube channel. That picture is exactly this model when she was in the building process, you know. And I think it's absolutely a stunning subject to have in the proper collection of racer, if you like race cars, you know. And the decals have been custom made by my very good friend. It's my graphic guy, is Andrew, that is incredibly skilled. So he take the proper color, the proper logos, and he made a very great work. The only difference that I made from the Fujimi box in the interior parts was mostly to feature the 8 trumpets. There is also the cable of the carburetors inside, but it's not possible to see from this corner, you know. I made a little detail inside, but in GT40, if you don't make a proper opening edge, you don't see the mechanic. Of course, in my model there is not inside the real engine, there is nothing, there is just a makeup to see something down there, nearly impossible to see, you know. And it's anyway convincing and taking the shape. I wanted to build up this model to have a proper shape, to look, to really to love the line of the GT40 produced in the late 60s. So that's it. I hope that also you will try to buy a Fujimi model, and I don't offer that, so no royalty for me, and enjoy and try to make a correct wide car about this incredibly racer. That's all. I hope you like the model, like the video, and see you in the next one, guys. Thank you.